All right, we're back on the record in case number 2012 CF 55504A, State of Florida versus William Woodward. I'll note the presence of Mr. Woodward at council table with Mr. Eisenmenger and Mr. Robinson, and the presence of Mr. Vespis and Mr. Shiner on behalf of the state. So I've been presented with a brief written introductory comment or instruction for the jury. So state has seen that and approves that? Yes. Okay. And just to be clear, obviously the transcript and the questions and responses will be read into the record, and the state is entitled to cross-examine and present additional questions and responses as well, if you wish to do so. Okay. So are we ready to bring the jury back in?
Yes, if I could have just a moment to speak with Mr. Woodward, and then I'm ready. I can do that while the jury's
being brought in?
Being brought in. I don't know how.
They're all present?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Give me just a moment then.
You may.
No. Ready.
All right, one other thing, having read the instruction, do you think it would be helpful if we indicate that he was under oath? I mean, I don't want to assume that the jury would otherwise not know that or know that. So,
Testimony under oath would be fine.
okay, so a reading of the official transcript of the testimony under oath of Bruce Timothy Blake. Agreed? Okay. All right, let's bring the jury in, please.
Yes, Your Honor. All rise.
Jury's present. We are ready. Please be seated. All right, the jury is present in the courtroom, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Hope you enjoyed your evening, and did you all follow all of my instructions during the overnight recess?
Yes.
Is anyone aware of any violations of any of my instructions?
No.
All right, very well. And Mr. Eisenmenger, are you ready to proceed and proceed with the transcript?
Yes, we are going to publish the testimony of Bruce Timothy Blake and other deceased.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are now going to hear a reading of the official transcript of the testimony given under oath of Bruce Timothy Blake at prior proceedings in this case. The law provides that this testimony is to be treated the same as any of the live testimony. Okay, let's get set up for that.
Ask Mr. Robinson to take the witness stand.
Okay.
I will. I'm going to begin on page 80 at lines 23. Now, were you present on an occasion where there were some suggestions directed at Mr. Woodward, his wife, and his 12-year-old daughter that someone in your group of friends, the Hembrys, the Picciors, your wife, yourself, or Ms. Cass, would sodomize her?
Yes, I remember when that was said.
And who was it that said that?
I'm not sure. I think it was Kim that said it first, and then Carrie just kind of went with it too.
Well, let's see. I want you to listen to this because I'm going to ask you, if you can, to identify who is saying what in this particular thing. While we were waiting, unfortunately, there's some gaps between when things are said back on 8/11/2012. But did you know that the Woodwards had surveillance cameras set up?
What date? I don't know what.
August the 11th, 2012.
I don't know if I knew then on that date or not. I can't remember the date or nothing. I don't know.
At some point in time, certainly before the incident, you knew that they had installed cameras.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then there is an audio-visual clip played. I ask that to be paused. You recognize the voice of the person that was driving by in the truck.
I'm sorry, Mr. Eisenmenger, what line are you on?
I'm sorry, we're at page 83 now, line 2.
Thank you. No, I do not. Or no, I didn't.
All right, fair enough. Mr. Blake, do you recognize the voices that were in the background then?
It doesn't sound like Billy talking.
Okay, thank you. Audio-visual clip played. Do you recognize that voice?
No, sir.
Fair enough. Audio-visual clip played. Do you recognize those voices?
It was, I think I heard Roger, but I'm not sure.
Audio-visual clip played. Do you know who? There's someone walking on the street. Can you see that figure?
Yeah.
Do you recognize that person?
Oh, I can't. I don't know who that is right now.
Okay, just out of curiosity, were you over with Roger and Gary and Carrie and all of them on this occasion?
I think on this occasion, I was further at the other end of my yard because I was cleaning and getting my boat ready to sell. And I was in the boat, working on the seats on that boat, getting one seat back ready to. I was in the boat, I think, when this started.
Audio-visual clip played. Again, can you recognize any of these participants in this altercation up in this corner?
No.
Or any of the voices?
I think I heard Carrie's voice in there.
Okay, anyone else's?
I can't recognize them right offhand exactly who they are.
All right, audio-visual clip played. Still can't recall who any of these people are on the street.
I can't make no voices out of that.
How about, do you recognize them, or does this even jog your memory since you were there on that day?
Yeah, I think Carrie was in the road. Kim was in the road. I think Roger was out there. Billy and William were out there.
William who?
What's his last name? The one that lived up the road. I done forgot his last name.
I'm sorry, I can't answer questions. You don't recall his name?
No, I don't. I don't remember his last name.
If I said William Smith, would that refresh your recollection?
That might be it. Yeah.
Going down to line 21. Where are you all of this time?
I'm still up in the boat, and then when it started, when they yelled that obscene, that's when I yelled at them to shut up.
Who is them you were yelling at?
Kim and Carrie.
So you're playing the peacemaker.
Well, I told them to shut up because that went over the line there.
Okay.
And then that's when I got out of the boat and got them up in the yard.
Audio-visual clip being played. Do you recognize any of those voices?
That sounded like Barbara telling Ethan to get inside.
Telling who?
Telling Ethan to get inside.
How about Ava? Do you know Ava?
Yes.
Who is Ava?
Huh?
Who is Ava?
Billy's daughter.
How old is Ava back then?
12 or 13, something like that.
Okay. Audio-visual clip played. Do you recognize the person in the white shirt?
I don't know who that is.
Do you recognize any of the people or voices in that?
There's no way I can pick out who's who and not looking at that. I don't remember what everybody else was wearing that day.
Okay. Did you recognize the voice of the person that's saying, "Fuck her in the ass"?
I didn't even pick that out on the video.
Did you hear it that day?
I heard it that day.
Okay. And who said it?
I think it was Kim that said it first, and then Carrie went and said it again or something, and that's when I come out of the boat to yell at them.
Okay.
For them to shut up because it was off the chain there.
Audio-visual clip played. Let me stop you again for a moment. Audio-visual clip paused. You said that you heard that from Carrie and Kim, and you came over and told them to shut up because that was off the chain.
Uh-huh.
Yes?
Yeah.
What was off the chain about it?
Well, that was bad.
What was bad about it?
You don't say that to somebody.
Why don't you say that to somebody?
I didn't.
Well, we'll talk about what you said later, but why would you say someone shouldn't say that about a 12... sorry, let me strike that. But you found it personally offensive, is that correct, that kind of statement?
Yeah,
It certainly isn't anything you would do.
I didn't. I did not say that.
Okay, did you ever say anything like that about Billy's daughter?
No.
Audio visual clip play. Now this exchange about, I'm going to get a nigger to fuck her up the ass too. Who was saying that?
I don't know. I don't know which one said that, if it was Kim or Carrie. It sounded just like the female voice there, but I don't exactly know which one it was.
Okay, and you don't recall exactly who made that kind of comment? Just one of the two?
It would be that or both of them.
All right, is that your voice right after she said that? Do you want me to back it up and play it again?
Yeah.
Audio visual clip play. Did you hear the person going, oh man, after that?
The oh man, that's when I was telling them I was like, I don't know exactly what I was saying, but I wasn't enforcing the comment. I was telling them to shut up. I was hollering at them, not insinuating the comment.
All right.
And I was hollering at them for them to shut up.
Okay, moving ahead to page 92, starting at line 1. Well, who was it, based on your recollection, that was yelling back at Barbara there?
Everybody was yelling back.
Okay, so everybody would include you, Gary, Roger, Carrie, and Kim?
That could have been me too. It could have been.
Audio visual clip play. Who was that made the comment about, I'm going to fuck your daughter? And then there's a male voice that says, yeah, after that. Do you recognize that voice?
I don't know whose voice that was. I don't know who.
So you don't know which of the men yelled out, yeah, after the women said they were going to fuck the daughter.
I don't know which one it exactly was. I don't know. I don't remember exactly.
Do you recall trying to stop any of the men from making these off-the-chain comments at this point?
Yeah, when I had said, whoa, when I got out of the boat and then went down there and said, whoa, then that's when it started getting, and then Billy and Will were hollering stuff. That's when it just escalated then, and everybody started hollering, and that's when everybody lost tempers.
Uh-huh. Audio visual clip play. Can you tell me who the voice was then?
I don't know. That might have been me. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can't tell what was said, though.
Moving down to line 20. During this whole exchange, when either Carrie or Kim making these comments to have his daughter sodomized, how close was Mr. Woodward to Carrie and Kim at that point?
I don't know. They were pretty close.
Okay. Close enough to hear those threats against his daughter?
Yeah,
Close enough to react to those threats against his daughter?
I would say so.
Even closer than you were when you heard those threats against his daughter, correct?
Yeah.
Moving down to line 14. Mr. Blake, I want to show you what's been marked as defendants B, C, and D for identification. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
What do you recognize them as?
That's mine. That's my shark killer.
That's your shark killer?
Yes.
And that was something that was present at the scene at the night of the shooting?
Yeah. I've had that one. I've had 15 or 20 of them like it for the past 20 years. I've got 2 or 3 of them like it right now.
Okay, but that one was out and was hanging on the grill the night of the shooting. Is that correct?
Yeah. That one amongst 3 other ones. There's a heavy one, a middle one, and a light one.
Well, those are the only pictures that the police took pictures of, so there are more things? Tell me what other weaponry was at and around and available at the time of the shooting. We now know that there were 3 different kinds of shark killers, as you've put them.
Uh-huh.
A baseball bat?
I don't know.
Question again, a baseball bat? Going to page 96, line 1.
I don't know. There could have been. The kids might have had some laying around.
Were any of you all carrying around any baseball bats that night?
Uh-uh.
The night of the shooting?
Uh-uh.
Any of you all talking about baseball bats the night of the shooting?
Not that I recall.
Let's see if we can refresh your memory.
Okay.
Any other weapons you recall seeing the night of the shooting?
No.
Any other weapons you can recall being talked about the night of the shooting?
Not that I recall.
Moving to page 98, line 2. Okay, would you agree that words were exchanged by your group of friends against the Woodwards a lot closer than 2 weeks prior to the night of the shooting?
Yes. There was words exchanged almost every day.
Okay, and including for about an hour before the shooting, is that correct? There were words by your group of friends, including you, directed at the Woodwards that night.
There probably was.
There probably was, or there was?
Yeah, I would say there was.
And what kind of things were being directed at the Woodward family that night that you recall?
I don't exactly remember. It was different things. There's a lot of things that you just said that was pointed toward the Woodwards when it wasn't. There was a bunch of wrestling. We was wrestling with the kids, and there's a lot of comments he made in his opening statement that we had supposedly, you all said that we had directed at the Woodwards, and it was not. It was about the wrestling, and because we was out there for a good over an hour wrestling with all the kids doing different teams and tag team wrestling and playing that youngins out there.
Were you burning anything?
They had the grill going.
Anything other than the grill?
Nothing other than the grill than I recall.
Now, are you calling some of the kids a faggot?
Yeah.
You were calling the kids?
Well, we was picking at them. We was wrestling, and we throwed one of them on the back, and come on, get him, you little faggot, get him, get him. Then that's what we was all wrestling there and doing different teams, trying to jump and get Roger down.
Okay. Any of these kids named Bill?
Huh?
Any of these kids named Bill?
I don't think so.
Okay. Any of these kids a faggot, F, Army, reject, bitch?
I know I didn't say that. I don't recall that being said, but I'm pretty sure you might have heard it evidently.
Okay. My question was, were those kind of comments being directed toward the children there?
Not that I know of.
Moving ahead to page 101, line 1. Sir, can you identify the people that are in that truck?
It looks like Billy and Ava.
Audio-visual clip play. Do you know who that is?
I don't know. That kind of sounds like Roger. I'm not sure.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Do you recognize that person?
I'd say that's Billy's dad.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. The little girl there, do you recognize her?
That's Ava, I think.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Now the person in the camouflage pants and the tank top, who is that?
That's Billy.
Okay. Is that typically the way he dressed, walking around in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
So there was nothing unusual at the time, all dressed up in his camouflage just for that night.
No.
Moving ahead to page 104, starting at line 2. Okay, audio-visual clip played. You recognize those people?
I reckon that's Billy's mom and dad.
Okay, audio-visual clip played. Do you recognize that voice?
That sounded like me.
I agree. Audio-visual clip played. Do you recognize that voice?
That sounded like me.
What's the purpose of yelling out at them, "I'm still right here"?
This had went on, this was like this for a month. It was not us constantly yelling at them. It was about the same amount on both sides. Was it stupid? Yes. But it was just as much him a-yelling, which we don't get to see none now.
Well, he's in his house right now, isn't he?
Yes, yeah, on this particular one here.
Well, this is the night that the shooting happened, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
So what is your purpose in starting things back up again by yelling out at the Woodwards, "I'm still right here"? What was your intention, sir?
There was no intention. I was just yelling out because I wanted to, I reckon.
So you didn't want to start this all up again, or fire things up a little bit, or get anyone started again by yelling, "I'm still right here," and watch out, they may run over you, right?
I said it. I mean, I can't change what I did. I said it.
But you didn't have any reason to say it, is that right?
Probably didn't.
Just for the heck of it.
Just for being pissed off for a month and a half, I reckon.
And wouldn't it be fair that you expected Billy to react to that? That's why you yelled it, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I reckon.
You wanted to get him pissed off that night, right?
Probably did.
Okay, so you were just starting, kept the fun going that night. That was your intention, is that right?
I just said it to be saying it.
Moving on, page 106, line 20. Question, a female voice yelling, "Billy."
Yeah, I don't know exactly who it is.
Okay, now just so it's clear, the only Billy that we are talking about this evening is Billy Woodward, who's inside his house. None of the people that were in your all's backyard were named Billy, right?
As far as I know, nobody was named over there was named Billy.
Okay, so if someone is screaming Billy, they're trying to get Billy Woodward's attention, aren't they?
They're probably, yes.
Moving on to page 114, line 6. Audiovisual clip played around 2200. Can you identify that voice for me?
I don't know if that's me or Roger.
Okay, well, someone appears to be saying he ain't coming out. Who's the he they are talking about?
They're talking about those two that were wrestling. They had them pinned down. I think Justin had one of them pinned down, and he ain't coming out. That's what there was. That's what they was talking about.
Okay, audiovisual clip played. Now, were they still wrestling there?
Yeah, they've been wrestling for a while. They was in betweenst the two houses behind that little brick wall.
In between there? I'm sorry,
In betweenst there.
And everyone is already out. They are not. Nobody's in the house or anything like that, right?
Yeah, no, there's people in the house. Yeah.
And the wrestling is in the house?
No, most of the kids is outside.
Okay. Audiovisual clip played. Now, who's that saying, "Come on, let's get him out. I'll fight him"?
That's what did that. That sounded like one of the kids there for the wrestling.
That's not Roger.
It could be. I can't hardly recognize the voices.
Who's the female who shouted, "Fight to the death"? Yeah, Roger.
I don't know which one that was. I don't remember which one that was.
Now, why would Roger, or whoever that was, be saying, "Come on, let's get him out, and I'll fight him," if all the kids are already out?
Get him out of the hold, the wrestling hold. We was tag teaming, and a bunch of kids was jumping on Roger and getting Roger, and then they was switching up, and it was,
So that's not referring to Billy.
no.
But it's loud enough that whatever's happening is picked up by the microphone all the way back at Billy's house.
That's because they was shouting they'd been playing.
And of course, there's no way Billy would know that the person that you're talking about was just playing.
How do I know what Billy would know?
Moving to page 117, beginning at line 3. Audiovisual clip played. Now, who is that yelling, "Fuck you, faggot, fucking queer"?
I don't know. I don't know who that was.
Well, he certainly isn't talking to any young boys wrestling down there at the corner by Billy's house, is he?
No, that don't sound like talking to guys or to the kids wrestling.
That's directed toward the Woodward family, is it not?
I don't know.
Isn't that why you're down there, to cause more problems with the Woodward family?
I don't know if I'm standing there or not. I can't tell exactly who is who.
And you don't remember?
No, I just told you that. I don't remember exactly at this moment in time. I don't. This is
Okay.
all.
I'm sorry?
This is almost 3 years ago.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Now, isn't that you saying, what are we doing here?
That's what it sounds like.
Moving to page 119, line 10. Audio-visual clip play. Is that you?
Yes, that's me.
And why are you asking, what are you doing out there?
I don't remember. I was probably asking them what in the hell they were doing over there.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Can you identify who is speaking there?
That sounded like Roger, I think.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Still Roger?
Yeah, that sounded like Roger.
Audio-visual clip play. Now, can you identify that voice?
I think that was Roger.
And to your knowledge, who is the he that he is talking about when he's saying, if he was coming out, he would be coming out right now?
I don't know. I guess they'd be talking about Billy. I'm not sure.
You're facing Billy's, toward Billy's house, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And there's no wrestling kids around here that we're talking about.
No, the kids is over between the two houses.
Here at the corner, right by the Woodward house, that's the three of y'all. Is that correct?
I think that's the three of us.
So there's three people. We know you're one. You think Roger is another. The other was Gary, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure.
Just out of curiosity, what are you doing there?
I don't remember what we were doing there.
What business did you have there?
I don't know. It was Gary's yard, and we was walking around in Gary's yard. Can't we?
Why are you yelling fucking queer?
I don't know, because I'm not the one that yelled it.
I do recognize that you're not the one that yelled it, but would you consider that outside the chain, just like you considered that other comment outside the chain?
I'm sorry, Mr. Eismayer, where are you?
I'm sorry, I'm at line
8.
8. The answer actually is at line 17.
That is a yes and no, because at that time, it's all we are seeing and hearing is the stuff that, like we're doing. We haven't seen nothing of what he was doing.
Well, he wasn't doing anything. He was inside his house.
Oh yeah, you're not right there, but of course, so the whole time he was.
From the whole time you all were at the party, not one word out of the Woodwards to any of you all. Isn't that correct?
Yes, from that night.
Okay, from that night.
Yeah, but from earlier that day and the day before and the day before and on, you keep saying about what's leading up. This was what was leading up.
Well, you're the ones that are starting it back up this night, aren't you?
I don't know.
Well, as a matter of fact, you were the first that's leading. You were the first one to start it up that night. Isn't that true?
That depends on when you start it, at what time you started it. That's when you start that tape.
From the party on.
Huh?
From the time his parents, let's start from the time his parents left the Woodward house. No one in the Woodward family exchanged any word at all with you that night. Isn't that true?
From that time on, yes.
Well, we're talking about that time. This is the night of the shooting.
Okay.
And you were the first person to start trouble up again that night. Isn't that true?
I don't remember. But according to that probably was. You're probably right.
In this comment that yes and no, it's outside the chain, I didn't hear you say anything, hey guys, that's out of control. You shouldn't do that, or anything else other than encourage it. Isn't that fair?
I didn't hear me encouraging them, but no, I did not say stop it.
You certainly didn't.
But you didn't hear me encouraging them either.
You certainly didn't discourage them, did you?
No, I didn't say nothing after he said it.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Do you recognize who was yelling then?
That was Roger, I think.
Okay, do you know who's doing the banjo sounds, the banjo imitation?
I don't know.
There were comments of eat more chicken. What does that mean in this ongoing interaction between the Woodwards and you all? Why are you all yelling, eat more chicken?
I wasn't. I didn't yell that. So I don't know. I wasn't the one saying that.
Well, wasn't there some sort of dispute about Billy keeping chickens?
Yeah, somebody had called code enforcement on him, and he had to get rid of them.
And he wasn't happy about that.
You'd have to ask him. I don't know.
Moving on to page 126, line 9. Okay, this clacking together, this metallic clacking together, that wouldn't be aluminum baseball bats clicking together, would it?
I don't have a clue what it is.
All right, you just don't remember. It's at the corner where you're standing, you just don't remember.
I don't remember what. I don't even remember making that noise or who was making it.
Moving ahead to page 128, line 6. Okay, audio-visual clip played. Who is that?
It sounded like Crystal, but I don't know what they said. What did they say?
Eat more chicken? Pretty loud.
Oh, that was probably Crystal.
But you still have no idea what anybody would have meant by that.
Probably picking about the chickens being gone or something.
Okay, audio-visual clip played. Who is yelling, burn it?
I don't know if that's Crystal or not. It kind of sounds like her, but I don't know.
What does she want you to burn?
I don't know what she's talking about.
I thought you told me earlier that nothing was burning except the barbecue grill.
That's all that was burnt that night, as far as I remember.
And you have absolutely no idea why anyone would be yelling, burn it, burn it?
Uh-uh.
All right, audio-visual clip played. Okay, let's talk about this. A couple of voices there. Bill is a faggot. Bill is a faggot. Bill is a faggot. Army reject boy, bitch. Do you recognize those voices?
One was Roger, and I don't know who the other one is.
Well, was it you?
No, it wasn't me. That wasn't my... Sounded like it might have been one of the kids, but I don't know who it was.
Well, earlier you had said it was Gary, you and Roger, and the only kid we have identified so far that came up and left was Crystal.
Yeah, there's 4. There's others. 2 or 3 other people that walked up there too,
Okay, so you got
just a little while ago.
your kids yelling maybe, Bill's a faggot.
I don't have them doing that. It weren't, I don't know why. Nobody's instructed them to do it. They just done it, I reckon. I don't know.
And nobody is telling them not to do it or asking them anything about it either, are they?
Not that I heard.
They're imitating what the adults are doing at the corner of the Woodward property, right?
I guess.
And just before we start, just to make it absolutely clear, since we're talking about the adults apparently calling the teenagers that were wrestling faggots earlier, you weren't. This was a man directed toward any of the teenagers about Bill's a faggot, Army reject bitch, was it?
I don't think so.
That was being directed at Mr. Woodward, wasn't it?
It probably was.
Moving ahead to page 134, line 2. I see this little boxy thing right here. That's the trailer where the Woodwards were loading up stuff about getting ready to move, right?
I don't know what they were doing.
Is it a trailer?
Yes, it's a trailer.
Okay.
I think that's the trailer.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Right there. That's you saying, when we get him to snap, we got his ad, isn't it?
I didn't hear what it was saying there.
Well, let's back it up. Let's let you listen to it again. Did you hear it that time?
I can't hardly make out what it was saying there. You need to play it again. I don't.
Okay. Audio-visual clip played again with higher volume. Did you hear it then?
I didn't. I don't know. That's what you say it is. I don't know exactly what I said. It ain't that plain to me.
Isn't that what you guys were trying to do over and over again? Isn't that what you told people you're trying to do, was to get Billy to snap?
No, no.
Was that your voice?
I guess it sounds like my voice.
It sounds like your voice. Audio-visual clip play. That's you too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what was said, though.
Aren't you saying right fucking now, if he would come out and fight? I've done it plenty of times. Do you see how white my knuckles are?
Play it again?
All right, play it again, please. Audio-visual clip play.
I heard myself say, I've done it plenty of times. See how white my knuckles is. That's all I could. I don't know what I was talking about.
You don't know that what you're talking about when you're talking about I've done it plenty of times? See how white my knuckles are? Isn't that your knuckles white from fighting?
No, I hadn't been fighting.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Who's that? You all ain't gonna do it.
That's me.
What are they ain't gonna do?
I believe they was going to moon the camera.
Audio-visual clip play. Stop it right there. Who's that? I am the producer.
That said, I am the what?
Producer.
I don't know for that producer word. I know that was me talking, but I don't know.
That was you talking?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know.
What were you guys doing at that point?
I don't remember. I don't think they were, I didn't moon the camera. They did. I know at one point in time they had done that because they were talking about doing that.
And the purpose of mooning the camera was what?
I don't know.
It's not to upset the Woodwards?
I don't know why they were going to do that.
Or upset their children? Or make them worried about what else that was going to happen that night?
No, that wasn't.
That wasn't the intention, right?
No.
Of course not. Audio-visual clip play. Right there. His daughter will get 25 days on down. Who is that?
I don't know, but that sounded like me.
Sounds like you to me, too. Now, whose daughter are you talking about?
I have no earthly idea.
Well, you're sitting there yelling at the Woodward house. You think maybe you're talking about his daughter?
I'm yelling at the Woodward house. We're just sitting there and yelling.
Well, whose daughter are you yelling about?
I don't know. I don't remember.
His daughter will get over 25 down. You didn't mean anything sexual by that, did you?
Uh-uh.
What did you mean then?
I don't have a clue what I meant. I don't hardly remember that night.
And you don't consider that off the chain to be yelling things that someone might interpret as being directed toward their daughter?
It probably is. It probably is. And in my drunken, stupid way, it probably was. But I don't know exactly what I said there, what's the context, and who it was to. I need to get the whole sentence to get the meaning, so I don't know exactly what was said.
You'd be thrilled if somebody yelled something like that at your stepdaughter, wouldn't you?
Probably would.
You would. It would make you feel really good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Who is that?
That's me.
Who are you asking to look something up?
I don't know.
Who are you calling a bitch?
I don't know.
What's the significance about this movie you're talking about? Four Sheets to the Wind. And you're asking her to look up? Isn't that what you're asking her to look up?
I don't remember. I didn't hear 4 Sheets in the Wind, but I don't know exactly what I asked her to look up.
Well, the comment, "How do you like me now, bitch?" that's being directed at the Woodward house, right?
That probably is.
And you didn't consider that that would upset anybody, did you?
It probably would.
You didn't consider that that might cause problems with anybody or cause them to have some fear about what you and your friends were going to do that night.
No.
They shouldn't worry about what you're doing while you're standing there drunk, yelling obscenities, yelling things at their house. That wouldn't worry anyone, right?
No.
It wouldn't worry you at all if people were doing that to you, would it?
Well, that's probably not. It depends.
That's just good old fun, right?
Yeah.
Yelling drunken obscenities at people in the middle of the night, screaming insults about their daughter, that's just fun, right?
We weren't screaming obscenities.
Bitch is not an obscenity? What do you call it?
Well, that wasn't at his daughter. It was calling him a bitch.
I'm sure she understood that. Go ahead. Audiovisual play. Can you identify any of the voices there? I heard some female voices and I heard some male voices.
Yeah, it's like Carrie is out there.
Huh?
I said, I think Carrie had walked out there.
Okay, so it's Carrie's voice, female voice talking.
I think so. That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Audiovisual clip played. Who's that yelling, "Suck this"? Do you recognize that voice?
I don't know which one that is.
Do you have any idea what they were suggesting someone suck?
No,
Nothing sexual about that either, right?
I don't know.
Nothing obscene about that either, right?
I don't know.
Going to page 143, line 2. Audiovisual clip play. What was that?
I don't have a clue.
It's not gunshots?
No, it wasn't gunshots, at least not by us. I don't know what that was or where it come from.
Well, you didn't have a gun?
No,
None of you all had a gun?
no,
Fireworks?
no, not that I know of.
And you don't think that sounded like a gun?
It may have, but it was not made by us. That's the first time I've heard that. I don't even remember hearing that night that I remember, but it was not made by us.
Moving to page 146, line 2. Audiovisual clip play. First off, do you remember the voices there?
I think that sounds like Roger.
Okay, and the Tim that he's talking to and ask him to slow down, would that be you?
Do what now?
Tim, you go by Tim, right?
Yeah,
When he said, "Tim, slow down for a minute, I'm old," was he talking to you?
I guess so.
Okay, why are you guys heading back?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, you had your phone, you headed back to the party, you stayed there for a few minutes, you heard what you said aren't gunshots, but you don't know what they are. You stayed a few more minutes, and now you all are heading back.
Yeah,
More fun?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember.
Let's see if we can refresh your recollection. Audio-visual clip play. Who is that?
That looks like Crystal and the kids.
Audio-visual clip played. Who's speaking there?
I don't know. I can't barely hear that.
Audio-visual clip played. Who's that saying, "I'm going to have a stroke on her"?
They're saying what now?
Isn't that you saying, "I'm going to have a stroke on her"?
No, that's not. No, I ain't never said nothing like that.
What are you saying then?
I don't know exactly what I'm saying, but that ain't have a stroke on her. That's,
Audio-visual clip played. Who is that?
that sounds like Roger.
Who's the dog he's yelling at?
I don't know.
Is that the Woodward's dog?
Huh?
You all, the three of you, you go off camera.
Right at one of their dogs got out.
Moving to page 150, line 11. After showing an audio-visual clip earlier. Mr. Blake, right there, right up there. Earlier you told us nothing was being burned.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that in fact someone burning something that turned out to be a flag?
Nobody burned no flag over there.
What are they burning?
I don't know. Nobody was burning nothing.
If you didn't know that nobody was burning nothing, and we can see them burning something, how do you know it's not a flag?
I don't know what it is.
Okay. Who's that yelling KKK white power?
That sounds like Kim.
The court. Like who?
Kim.
The court. Tim?
Kimberly.
Okay. They were saying no one would know you're a racist.
I don't know who that is.
And you had no idea these people were out there burning something?
Uh-uh. It was just,
Where were you?
I was just sitting there looking at this. I don't remember none of this at all.
It's pretty clear that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, somebody's burning something now that I'm sitting here. I don't know if I was inside or what, because I don't remember this.
Okay, moving ahead to page 152, line 24. Can you identify the voice that's going, whoa, whoa, whoa? Why would you do that?
It sounds like me.
Sure did, but you didn't know anything about that, I thought.
Yeah, I'm still sitting here looking, and I still don't remember it. I can see me walking right off my carport, walking right out there, but
And you can recognize your voice, too, can't you?
yeah.
Moving ahead to page 154, line 24. Audio-visual clip play. Who is that?
That sounded like Roger.
And who is he directing "fuck you, bitch" at?
I don't know. I would imagine Billy, but I don't know.
Not at anyone at your party.
I don't think so.
So it would have been directed at the Woodward family or Billy specifically.
I guess I don't know.
All right. Audio-visual clip play. Who's that screaming, "Suck my dick, faggot"?
That sounded like Roger.
He had directed that toward the Woodwards?
I don't know. Whoever he was, I don't know.
You certainly don't believe it was being directed toward any of the people at your party, do you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Who's saying, "Let's do it again"?
I don't know who that was.
Let's back up and see if you can recognize the voice. Audio-visual clip play. Do you recognize who's saying, "Let's do it again"?
I don't know, but it sounds like Jessica, or I mean Kim.
And what is it that they wanted to do again?
I think they were doing shots of Jaeger.
Right after Roger was yelling, "Fuck you" and "Suck my dick" to the Woodwards?
I guess evidently it was right after. It was just on the tape, yeah.
Audio-visual clip play. Now who's walking back toward the Woodward property?
I don't know.
All right. Audio-visual clip play. Who's yelling there?
That sounded like Roger.
So do you think this has anything to do with the "let's do it again"?
I don't know.
Roger is kind of starting it up again, isn't he?
That's just, like I say, I don't know.
All right. Audio-visual clip play. There's a lot going on there, but did you recognize who was saying "slash and burn"?
I don't know. No, I don't know which one that was.
So someone just burned something that you forgot about. Now they're saying, "Let's do it again." Now they're coming to the corner of the property, right at the Woodward property. Someone is saying "slash and burn." Is that just a coincidence? Let's do it again?
That I don't know. I don't remember.
Going to page 158, line 5, I guess, first, audio-visual clip being played. Okay, did you hear the "slash and burn" that time?
I don't know what it said.
Okay, one more time. Let's back it up and play it again. Yeah, if it would help you, we could actually give you a pair of headphones. Like to help you listen a little bit better. Would you like that?
I'm not. Yeah, I don't care.
Page 160, line 24. Were you able to hear it any better on the headphones?
Yeah, I don't know if they said "slash and burn" or "crash and burn."
Okay, and you don't know who it was?
Just I don't know who it was.
So as you heard it, it was either "crash and burn" or "slash and burn."
Yeah.
Okay, and just before that, when someone was saying, "Tell him to fuck you" while you're there, could you recognize that voice?
I believe that one was Roger.
Who's making the comment about showing their asshole in the whole hole?
I think that was Roger.
Okay, and that's while he's mooning the Woodward house. Is that correct?
I don't know if he was mooning right then or not. I can't remember exactly when it was.
You can certainly recall them at some point in the evening mooning the Woodward house, though.
Yeah, I don't think that did happen. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do think that did happen. Yes.
Okay, all right. Audio-visual clip played. Do you know who's saying the whole hole?
I think that was Roger.
Okay, audio-visual clip played. Okay, can you tell us who that was?
That sounded like Roger.
163, line 3, audio-visual clip played. Can you identify the voice that said that?
That sounded like Roger.
Okay, audio-visual clip played. How about that one?
That was Roger.
Okay, audio-visual clip played. Can you recognize the voice that's saying, hold my weed?
Well, I don't know if that's what they were saying. You know, it sounded like Roger's voice, but I don't know.
Okay, let's back up and see if you can figure out what they're saying. Audio-visual clip played. Did you understand it then?
Yeah, well, vaguely. I don't know if that was hold my weed or it was pull my something. I don't know what was exactly said there. It was the last one sounded like Roger saying, hold my weed. Then the first two sounded like one of the youngins, pull my something. I really couldn't tell what it was.
Okay, moving on to line 8. All right. Audio-visual clip played. Do you recognize that voice?
Yeah, that's Roger.
Okay. Audio-visual clip played. Do you recognize that voice?
Yeah, that's Roger.
Audio-visual clip played. How about that one?
That was Roger.
Okay. Audio-visual clip played. How about that one?
That was Roger.
Audio-visual clip played. Now, just before the fuck you bitch, someone said something like, we made that up, or what it sounded like. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Let's back up a little bit. I'd like to know who said that. Audio-visual clip played. Did you hear it then?
Yeah, I don't know who that was.
Okay. You don't know who that is talking about. We made that up. And I think right now we're going to hear someone say, fuck you. I'd ask you if you can identify who that is.
That's Roger.
Would you agree that the comment by Roger is definitely directed toward Billy Woodward?
I would think so, the way he's hollering.
Would you agree that we made that up was directed at something that Billy Woodward had been accused of?
Oh, I have no idea about that.
All right. Audio-visual clip played. That voice.
That's Roger's voice, but I don't know what he said there.
Moving ahead to line 9 on page 166. Audio-visual clip played. Is that Roger?
Yeah,
Okay. Audio-visual clip played. Who would that be?
that was Roger.
Now, at this point, it's still a fair statement that none of you are aware of the fact Mr. Woodward has left his house and moved to an area where you can clearly hear all these comments that are being directed toward him and his family, right?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. Audio-visual clip played. And do you know who's making those comments?
That would be Roger.
Still Roger. Okay, thank you. You know what he's talking about? Okay, who is that?
That was Roger.
You know what he's offering $1 for?
I don't have a clue.
Audio-visual clip play. Now, who is that saying, stop and rethink that? You just got your ass whipped. In return, you get to shoot him for something that doesn't hurt.
He's talking about when the kids was wrestling.
You get to shoot the kids for something?
Yeah, with the water squirter thing that they had out there.
Then why is he asking him to stop and rethink that?
I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking about then.
Isn't he actually suggesting that if they get Billy Woodward to fight with them, then they could shoot him and they would be able to shoot him?
No, he's talking about the kids with the water guns when they was wrestling. That was the part, if you lose, you got shot with it because they would get the water out of the ice cold water out of the cooler.
Okay. Who's that saying there wasn't a claim that was legal?
I don't know. It sounded like Roger. I think it was.
And are you still claiming that the conversation is about squirting some of the boys who are wrestling with a water gun?
It was the boys and the girls. It was all of them. That's why earlier when we was watching the video and you seen the kids screaming and running and they was running all through the yard like that, that was them with the water gun squirting each other. And they was running because it was cold. That's where we made them fill it up at. So when you lost, you got shot with cold water.
Okay. Audio-visual clip play. Now, who's saying those things? Come on, boys. We're all going together. We're all going together, all three of us.
I believe it was Roger, Gary's two sons, and maybe another one was all. Justin kind of throwing all, everybody's around. He was a big boy, and all of them was going to get Justin and the rest, I think.
Uh-huh. So all 5 of them were going to get all 3 of us.
Yeah, they was too. The rest of the thing, they was wanting to get because,
Who was that? The female voice that said, "Oh my God, they're going to do it."
that was Jessica, I believe.
And who said, "Get up, asshole. Come on, get up, get up."
I don't know.
Okay, audio visual clip play. Who was that?
That sounds like Kim.
You know who she's talking to?
She's talking to Gary.
Okay. Moving to page 170, starting at line 21. Audio visual clip play. Would you agree someone is saying, "Get a bat"?
Uh-uh.
Yes?
It sounds like Roger's saying, get it back to one of the kids, James.
Well, at the yes, there was a nodding of the head according to the record.
Yes, well, it's his nod's head, but
Okay. And then the question, who is saying, "Get a bat"?
it sounds like Roger is saying, get it back to one of the kids, James.
Isn't that the same voice also saying, "Yeah, let's go get him"?
No, no,
What do you think they're saying?
don't go get him.
Don't go get them?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's talking to Justin, where Justin don't jump into a little wrestling match with them.
Okay. And immediately after someone says, "Get a bat," again, isn't that correct?
Yes, to get there's a little bag that they're wrestling over there. They've been doing it all night long.
Uh-huh. Audio visual clip play. And who's that saying, "Come on, gang"?
That's Roger talking to anybody that will wrestle him. It's like 3 or 4 of them against Justin, 3 or 4 of the kids.
Okay.
And Justin's on his knees, and he's taking all the kids on.
Okay. Audio and visual clip play. Stop right there. So everybody right now should be wrestling, right?
Yeah, they would wrestle, they would get tired, and they would rest. They would rest a little bit. When they get tired, they rest.
Okay. That's when Mr. Woodward appears with a gun, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
So according to you, everyone was just hanging around wrestling when Mr. Woodward came around with a gun. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know as they was actually on the ground wrestling. I know Roger and Justin had just got through, or might have still been, but I think they had just got through. I just walked out of the house with a cigarette, and I think Roger was standing up. I don't know if him and Justin was still attached or not. It's hard to remember, but
A few moments ago, you said all of the kids were piling together wrestling.
yeah, they weren't. They would wrestle and then quit. It was not like a continuous wrestling thing for 5.5 hours for the kids. It was a little, they would go in spurts.
Mr. Blake, isn't it true what Mr. Woodward heard and what all of you were saying was a continuation of your efforts against him? And he heard Roger saying, the same person that had been yelling at him all night, yelling obscenities at him all night, yelling at his family over and over again, he hears him say, "Get a bat, come on gang, let's go," and that's when Mr. Woodward acted.
Wrong.
Where were you, actually, when the shooting started?
I had just come out of my back door onto my carport.
Describe to me what you saw.
I don't know. I heard the first shots and didn't know what it was.
So what did you do?
I was just standing there looking, and then I seen Roger fall, and I thought he'd been down to pick up something or something, and then when I looked up, that's when I seen Billy pointing the gun at me.
Okay, so you didn't actually see Billy before you saw Roger fall.
No.
And who was around Roger?
Justin.
Anyone else?
I don't remember exactly which one, but there was a couple or 3 or more kids out there then.
So you're saying that when Billy came around, it was Justin, Roger, and 3 or 4 kids all around in a group together.
Well, it was an area between the houses, not exactly right there beside Roger.
But I thought they were all wrestling together just a few minutes ago.
That's what, I don't know exactly. They was all there. Whether they was wrestling at that particular point in time, I don't know. But that's what had been going on right there all evening, like I've said 1,000 times.
Except when you were down there yelling obscenities at the Woodwards, right?
The kids were still back there doing it, wrestling and playing.
What happened after you saw Roger fall?
That's when I started getting shot.
Anything else you recall after that?
Yeah, he ran over and he shot me 5 or 6 times then and ran over and then emptied it.
And when Gary came in, I'm sorry, that's still his answer, I believe.
And when Gary came running out, he pushed him down and finished the clip in Gary, and then Gary fell. Then he put another clip in and shot Gary some more. Came back over and shot me 5 or 6 more times then. And then I seen him roll Roger over and shot one more time, and then he was out of bullets.
So according to your sequence of events, Mr. Woodward shot Roger once, shot you several times, shot Gary several times, came back and shot you some more, still had a bullet left to shoot Roger, but didn't finish you off.
Right.
That would end what we are publishing to the jury.
Okay, thank you. You may sit down. May I have the attorney's approach, please? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief recess restroom stretch break. And so if you would leave your notebooks on your chairs and make sure that you follow my instructions during our 10-minute recess. Thank you.
All right.
Please be seated. We're back on the record in case number 2012 CF 55504A, State of Florida versus William Woodward. I'll note the presence of Mr. Woodward at council table with Mr. Eisenmenger and Mr. Robinson, and the presence of Mr. Respis and Mr. Scheiner on behalf of the state. Is the defense ready to call your next witness? Okay, we'll bring the jury in, and while we're waiting on the jury to come in, go ahead, Deputy, thank you. The instruction that I presented to the jury prior to the reading of this transcript, without objection from the parties, I'm assuming no objection to make this Court Exhibit 6. Okay? So this will be Court Exhibit 6. State in agreement? I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Jury's present? We are ready. Please be seated. All right, the jury is present in the courtroom once again, and ladies and gentlemen, did you follow all of my instructions during our brief recess?
Yes.
Is anyone aware of any violations of any of my instructions?
No.
Thank you. Defense's next witness, I believe, is Barbara Woodward. Okay, let's bring in Ms. Woodward, please. Good morning, ma'am. If you please raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat over here on the witness stand. If you would please state your full name.
Barbara Ann Woodward.
Thank you. You may inquire.
Thank you. Mrs. Woodward, would you tell the jury what your relationship is to William Theodore Woodward?
He's my husband.
And did you all get married?
We got married in 1999.
And did you live 1960 Smith Drive?
Yes, we did.
When did you move in then?
We moved in that house, I believe it was 1998.
While you were living there, did you come to know a group of people, the Hembrys, Picciors, the Blakes, some significant others and children?
Yes, I did.
Could you briefly tell the jury what initially your relationship was with this group of people before the events of August the 5th?
Our initial relationship.
How you met them, what your relationship was, leading up to August 5th?
We were very friendly. We were friendly neighbors. They were friendly neighbors. Our children often played together. I don't know how much to say.
Okay, well, were there situations where you all assisted one or more of these people?
Oh, yes, yes, our children played together a lot, and their children the other families, all of their children would often come to our house to play. There were many times that we fed them, or they would sometimes stay at our house overnight. We even bought clothes for them on several occasions. There were times that we paid their rent when they were having a hard time.
Specifically, whose rent did you pay?
Well, we paid the Blake's rent one time. My husband also offered to sign on a mortgage for Mr. Hembry because he was having a really hard time, and we felt really bad for him and didn't want him to lose his house. And so my husband offered to sign a mortgage for him to help him keep the house.
Now, even before August 5th, did there arise some concerns specifically with Mr. Hembry and that caused you to restrict your daughter going into the Hembry home?
Oh, yes, there was a few times.
May I have the attorney's approach, please? Next question?
Okay. Let's move up then to August 5th. Did there come a point in time where something happened that changed your all's relationship with the Hembrys, Pickiors, Blakes at all?
Yes.
What actually occurred? What was the beginning of the change of that relationship?
Well, it really began before that, when we tried to assist the police with their investigation of drugs in the household.
I don't think it's... Well,
May I have the attorney's approach?
you were telling us that there were actually...
And I'm sorry,
Can we approach?
yes.
So, you were telling us that, by your perception, that things began to turn even beforehand. Now, I don't want you to get into what other people told you or things of that nature, but when was it that you believe that the relationship started to turn?
I believe it started to change in the month or so before all of the harassment began.
Okay. And was that something that changed your feelings toward the Hembrys, Pickiors, and Blakes, or their feelings toward your family?
I believe both. I believe.
Okay. And again, what do you believe caused the Hembrys, Pickiors, and Blakes to change their relationship towards you, not the other way around?
I'm not sure how to answer.
Was there something that they felt your family had done that they objected to?
Sustained.
There's something that they expressed to you all that you had done that they were upset about?
It was their behavior.
What was their behavior?
That-
Let's just describe their behavior.
They were not friendly anymore.
Now, did some event happen on Friday, August 3rd that was significant in the change of the relationship?
I can't remember what happened on August 3rd.
Okay. Do you recall anything involving Ava's gift?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't recall
yes.
exactly when that happened, but there was something involving a gift with Ava.
Yes, there was.
Tell the jury, first of all, about Ava's gift?
Okay, my daughter was celebrating her 12th birthday, and her birthdays were always a really big deal in our house. And a work friend of mine had dropped off a gift. They left it on the doorstep, and the next day called me to ask me if we had gotten it okay, and I told her no, we had not received the gift.
Now, did there come a point in time where you suspected that someone in the Hembry household might know something about that?
I knew right away that it had to be someone in that household.
Why is that?
One of the children was frequently stealing things from our property and others' property around the neighborhood. The day before that, I had seen three of the children trying to break in the house across the street. There were many times I had gone to Mr. Hembry and asked about packages that had been left on my door where the delivery tracking had said it had been delivered at such and such time and it would not be there. And then of course, they said that they didn't have it, and then you would see one of the children with the items. So I knew that that's where the items were going.
Okay. And did your husband do anything on August 5th to bring that to the Hembrys' attention?
He did. He went over and asked if they had seen a package on our door.
And was he accompanied by anybody when he made that?
He went over twice. The first time he just went and politely asked. The second time he did ask an officer to accompany him, just to have it on record.
Okay. Now, after you had the conversation where the officer was present, did anything else happen that day?
Yes.
What did you observe happen?
I observed Mr. Hembry taking pictures of our house and our yard, of our family outside.
Okay. Did this concern you?
It did. It really concerned me.
Why?
We had chickens as pets, and I was afraid that they would call code enforcement and report the chickens just to be mean.
How long did you have the chicken?
Birds are great pets, and my husband had always wanted chickens, so he bought a few chickens. When they were
Sustained.
How long did you have them?
how long? A few years.
Okay. Had there ever been an issue with anybody in the neighborhood about the chickens prior to this day?
Oh no, everyone loved the chickens.
Okay. And that would include the Hembrys?
Oh yes, the children would come over and help us feed the chickens. They would help catch bugs for the chickens. We would give them a quarter, for catching a cricket or whatever. And they'd love to come over and help feed them. And they were like pets. You could pick them up and hold them and pet them, and it was really fun. So they enjoyed that.
Okay. But on August 5th, you observed Mr. Hembry taking photographs of the backyard where the chickens were.
Yes.
Okay. And what happened then?
Code enforcement came to our house and told us we had to get rid of them.
Now, was there some sort of confrontation with your husband and Mr. Hembry and this group from across the street on that day?
I can't remember the actual order of events of what happened on each day. There was an argument either that day or the next day, yes.
Okay. Well, the exact day is not important. It was somewhere around this point in time. So tell the jury what you recall about that altercation.
My husband confronted him about why he was taking pictures of us in our house.
Okay. As that confrontation went on, was there also a rehashing of this concern about the stealing of Ava's present?
Yes.
Okay, so it evolved from the chickens back into the, I'd like my daughter's present back.
Yes.
And at that point in time, did it start with just your husband and Mr. Hembry, or was everybody involved all at first?
The other neighbors got involved pretty quickly.
Okay. And what was the nature of their involvement?
They immediately started harassing and threatening and
Well, tell the jury what you mean by harassing. What was the type of things that were being directed toward y'all?
it started out as just yelling at us from across the street, yelling insults and driving up and down the street, honking the horns, making as much noise as they possibly could. It escalated into yelling at us every time we walked outside, when you tried to walk the dog, when you're taking your child to the bus stop. It just never stopped. It was constant. Whether we were inside or outside, it was constant, and you could hear everything. And when you went outside, it was even worse than when you were inside.
Who was doing this?
Oh, I observed every person of both of those households participating in this, even the children.
Okay, when you say every person, let's talk about the household. Who was in the households that you're talking about?
That would be Mr. Hembry, Mr. Pecor, Mr. Hembry's children.
How many children?
He had Zachary and Corey and Destiny, and then you had Kim Cass and her two girls. Mr. Pecor's son was there almost daily, so he was participating in this.
Would that be Justin?
Yes. And then you have Mr. and Mrs. Blake and their two girls.
Now, when you said even the children were participating, what types of things did you observe in terms of the children's participation?
They would often sit, there's a big rock in the corner of the yard, and they would often sit there and just yell at my kids whenever they would come outside. If my daughter was walking home from the bus stop, they were yelling just obscenities at her, threatening words.
Where were their parents when this was happening?
Well, they were out in the yard or in the carport, which was right there.
I'm sorry.
They could see and hear it as well as I could.
Did you ever specifically have any conversation with them, asking them to control their children and not have them taunt your daughter?
Oh, yes.
What was their reaction?
They would Gary and Kim would yell at the girls, "You leave her alone." And that didn't stop anything.
Okay. Did you have any specific conversation with Kim regarding her children's activities against Ava on the bus?
Oh, yes, several times.
What type of things were you concerned about?
They would go out of their way to sit next to Ava on the bus and just verbally torment her. And when you're a kid, it's a big deal. They'd call her names, they'd try to trip her, they would push her, they would pull her hair. It was every day, constant.
When you spoke with Ms. Cast about her daughter's behavior, did she indicate to you whether or not she was discouraging or encouraging that type of behavior?
Sustained.
Well, again, may we approach?
Attorneys may approach.
Do you recall a statement on or about August 12th from IM? You specifically spoke with Kim Cass about her daughter's harassment and what she responded in terms of that and her intentions regarding her daughter's harassment of your daughter.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Do you recall a conversation with Ms. Cass on or about August 12th regarding her children taunting and harassing your daughter Ava and her response as to what she intended with her daughter's activities towards your daughter?
Yes, I do remember that conversation.
What was that statement?
She immediately started yelling at her girls, telling them to leave Ava alone.
Do you recall any conversation where she had indicated?
Sustained.
Do you recall a statement that you can put in your injunction paperwork regarding her comments at or around this time?
I'm sorry, I don't.
I'll come back to it in a moment, once I get that to refresh your recollection. Says, from you had described to the jury what you were talking about in terms of harassment. You also mentioned the terminology threats. What did you mean by threats during this period of time?
With me or with my daughter?
Anything directed toward you, your husband, or your family?
The children would talk about how they would kick Ava's ass. They threatened her with that. With my family, I'm sorry, it's so hard to talk about this.
You need a recess? Can we take a short recess, please?
Okay, we'll take a 10-minute recess. Ma'am, you may step down for just a few moments. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would put your notebooks on your chairs, make sure you follow all of my instructions during our brief recess.
I remember exactly now. She stood in that driveway and told me she would sick her kids on my daughter. She would tell them to harass my daughter until she could not function anymore.
It may sound like a silly question, but how did that make you feel?
Oh, it made me feel terrible.
Now, the events of September 2nd into the early morning hours of September 3rd. Specifically, did the harassment of your daughter continue?
Yes.
Was it intermittent or frequent, or how would you describe it?
I would call it frequent.
Now, in addition, I'm going to move from things that were directed toward your children and talk about things that were directed toward you and or your husband. Was there, and again, I'm trying to upset you, but the question that I'd ask specifically, you had used the term threats. What did you mean by threats that were directed toward you?
Carrie said that she would Carrie said that she would rape my daughter up the ass. And she said that she would have all the neighbors participate. And that she would burn down my house.
Do you recall whether or not anybody else in this group made any similar type comments or threats directed toward you?
Yes, Roger said. I can still hear their voices screaming at me in the street. And he said, yeah, that's what we're going to do. She said she would pay people if she had to. And Billy kept saying, leave my daughter alone. And then she just said it again.
And when these comments were first made, were your son and daughter within earshot of them?
I would say yes.
Did you actually move them into the house while this was still going on?
I did move them into the house, but it didn't matter. You could hear everything.
Now, these threats directed against your child, your family as a whole, did you take those threats serious?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
Did you have any doubt in your mind that they were credible threats, things that they were capable of doing and might in fact do?
Overruled, you can answer.
I took it very seriously. I had no doubt that they were capable of doing it.
Now, were there other threatening behaviors between this particular incident on the 11th right up until September 2nd?
Yes.
What types of things did you personally observe?
I observed, well, I heard comments like, we have a gun now, and they would make a
finger gesture of a gun and pointed at us. We have a gun now. We can do whatever we want.
I want to show you the blow-up. You recognize the person in this?
Yes,
You've seen that photograph before.
I have.
Who is that?
Roger Picourt.
Where did you see that photograph?
He posted it on Facebook.
Now, seeing that photograph on there, did that cause you any concerns?
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's obvious he has access to some type of rifle easily enough that he could take a picture and post it.
Okay. And is this photograph, this Facebook photo, at or around the time that you're hearing these threats from this group?
Yes.
We have a gun, the shooting, and all of that.
Yes.
How did that affect your belief about whether or not these threats were credible?
How can I not take that seriously? It terrified me.
Did you draw this photograph to the attention of your husband?
I can't remember if I did or not, but I do know that he saw it.
Okay. Now, were there other types of threats or activities that were directed? At this point in time, I'm going to kind of focus on the August 5th right up into the time of the injunction hearing.
Okay.
Tell the jury about the types of things that was happening by this gang against you all during that period of time.
Well, there was constant noise, constant yelling at us, yelling obscenities, yelling the threats. They even threatened to shoot my dog. My husband would, one time my husband was walking our dog and they had dogs that were big dogs and not on leashes, and the dogs would come charging out at him. He thought he was about to get attacked by these dogs. I saw this happen. It scared me to death.
What was your feelings during this period of time about whether or not you and your family were safe in your own home?
Up until the injunction hearing, I thought that if we just mind our own business, I really thought that it would just go away. Well, I hoped. I always thought that if you ignore bullying, it goes away, and that's what I thought it was. I thought it would just, they would get bored, and it would go away.
Okay. Now, you did seek injunctive relief, you and your husband, on
Yes.
behalf of your family against them.
Yes,
And were you present during the injunction hearing?
I was, yes.
Okay. Now, we've already heard testimony about the fact that Judge Moxley denied the injunction.
Okay.
How did that make you feel about your family's security, the fact that the court would not act?
I felt helpless. I really felt like the court would help us in some way. And being told we cannot help you made me feel like I had to do something else to try and help the family.
Now, up until that time, you had repeatedly called the Titusville Police Department to intervene, is that correct?
Yes.
Had they ever done anything to actually prevent this abuse being directed against you and your family?
Not that I saw, not that I know of.
How did that make you feel about the police department's ability to protect you and your family?
I lost confidence. Every time they came out, they said we can't do anything. So I worried that they would not do anything to protect us.
Now, you all did install a security camera on your property shortly after the incident on the 5th, is that correct?
That's right.
And why did you do that?
Well, so if anything happened, we would be able to protect ourselves and know that what was going on outside, we could see what was happening.
After the security camera was installed and you called the police, did you ever offer to give any of that information to them?
Oh, yes, we did.
Were they receptive to that?
No, there was one officer who came inside and looked at what direction the camera was facing, but that was all.
Did they ever ask for or take, right up until I understand things changed after the shooting. We'll talk about that in a minute. But up until the time, the actual date of the shooting, did anybody from Titusville Police Department ever request any of your video footage?
I cannot think of anyone that requested any of the footage, no.
Do you specifically remember offering the footage to them?
Yes? Yes, I do.
Now, after the injunction hearing, you all attended several of your neighbors who had witnessed various things, police officers, the Hembrys, Picayors, Blakes, they all were there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, directly after the denial of the injunction, do you recall any instructions to the group about leaving?
About leaving?
Yeah.
Well, the judge told us all to go home and play nice.
Okay. How about in terms of your actual leaving the courthouse that day? Was there any efforts taken to keep you all separate that you recall?
No,
Okay.
no.
Now, did you actually observe the incident between Mr. Hembry and your husband directly after the injunction?
Yes, I did.
Tell the jury what you observed.
Well, immediately after the hearing, when we tried to leave, all of those people were standing in the hallway, preventing us from leaving. We actually had to get a deputy from the court to go into the hallway and ask them to leave so that we could leave. We were afraid to walk past them. It was small, so they were right here. The deputy asked them to leave, that it was time for them to leave. And so we waited just a moment for them to go outside, get in their cars, type of thing. They didn't do that. Some of them left, and Mr. Hembry and his girlfriend stayed behind until we got outside.
What happened when you exited the courthouse?
He was parked right across the street. Mr. Hembry was parked right across the street, leaning against his car, and he was just smiling, and he just seemed so proud of himself. He made a comment to my husband.
Do you recall what that comment was?
Actually, I don't remember what the comment was.
Do you recall either he or his girlfriend doing anything with the camera?
I don't remember
Okay.
that.
But what happened after he directed the comment towards your husband?
My husband went across the street And punched him.
Fight ensued?
Yes.
At some point, and somebody got involved with pepper spray. So
Yes. Someone who was standing outside the courthouse came over and pepper sprayed all of us. It's not something I recommend.
Did you get pulled into this altercation, and was anything directed toward you personally?
I don't remember that exactly. I ran after him, and I remember I was screaming, but I don't remember what I was saying. But I was trying to pull him off of Gary, and I got knocked down, and then I was just laying on the ground.
Do you happen to recall who knocked you down?
I don't remember who knocked me down. I just remember falling and thinking, I can't believe this is happening to me. And then someone helped me up, asked me if I was okay. I don't remember who knocked me down.
Okay. Now, after that, your husband was actually given some paperwork regarding notice to appear for his activity. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then, did you return to your home?
I did. I went, after we were treated by the paramedics, I went straight home.
Okay. And your husband went, referred with his dad initially?
Yes.
Okay. Did you arrive home before they did or after they did?
I arrived home before they did.
And what were you greeted with when you arrived home?
Coming down the street, I could see people standing out in their yard. They were already out in the yard waiting for us to come home.
Who were the people?
I'm sorry, I distinctly remember Carrie going out into the street looking to see who the car is that's coming down the road. She would look, and then she'd go back up into the yard. And as I got closer, she came out again and looked in the street, and I pulled up into the driveway and got out of the car, and she realized that I was by myself, so she went and sat back down in the swing in the yard.
Okay, were there, you're speaking about Carrie Blake.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Were there other people in the yard with Ms. Blake?
Yes, Jessica Nobles was out there. I believe a couple of the kids were out there, but I can't remember which ones now.
Okay.
They were laughing and carrying on.
So they appeared to be amused by the situation.
Oh,
Sustained.
Well, would you describe their behavior? Did they appear angry? Did they appear amused? Did they appear, what?
Beginning of the question, state that again, Mr. Eisenmaker.
But how did they appear?
Okay. You may respond.
it appeared as though they were amused. They were laughing. They weren't acting like they had just been in a courtroom.
Okay. Were you present when your husband arrived with his father?
Yes. As soon as, I was watching, waiting for him to come home. As soon as the car pulled up in the driveway, several people gathered in the yard along with Carrie and Jessica. I don't remember everyone who was there. They immediately started.
Let me stop you for a moment. Do you remember any of them?
Do I remember any
Any of them besides Carrie?
I remember Carrie being there, and I remember Jessica being there.
Any of the males?
I don't think Gary was home yet, but I really believe Roger was there. but not Gary and not Kim, not yet.
Tell me what you observed in terms of their activities once your husband arrived.
They immediately started yelling at him, laughing and yelling, "We can do anything to you now." I know something was said, but that he responded to, but I can't remember what it was.
Verbally responded or physically
Ye-
responded?
Yeah, I believe he verbally responded. I can't remember exactly.
Okay. All right. Now, did that continue for a period of time, or how long did
Oh, it went on for hours and hours.
all that evening?
Oh, yes, all that evening for sure.
Now, there also were some neighbors of your all's that came to testify on your all's behalf. Is that correct?
Yes,
I think the Cass and the Baldwins were the two couples. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, who did you say?
I'm sorry, I said Cass, I meant. Thank you. I apologize for my own stupidity. Should carry the notes. Your neighbors, the Crows and the Maltons,
Yes,
testified, were there to testify, didn't actually get to testify. Is that correct? The injunction hearing.
yes, they did go to the injunction hearing.
Okay. Now, after they were there and appeared on your behalf, did you observe anything directed toward them by this gang of people?
I did observe that, yes.
What types of things did you observe that were directed toward them now that they've been brought into this conflict?
I personally observed several of them yelling obscenities to my neighbors.
Which neighbors, if you recall?
It was Marty and Larry Maudlin.
All right. Anything else that you personally observed?
No, I can't remember anything.
Okay.
It was more than one time, but I don't remember exactly what.
Okay. Now, after the injunction, did things involving this group get any better? Or
No.
any worse?
It got much worse.
In what way?
Well, that's the time period when they threatened to rape my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter, and burn down my house. That's when they said, "We have a gun now. We can do anything to you."
Now, before you had indicated that up till the time of the injunction, you were just hoping that this was merely bullying activity and it would go away.
Yes.
After the injunction, did your attitude toward all this change?
Oh, yes.
In what way?
I realized, or I felt like it would not stop. I felt like we had to get away from it completely. Up until then, I thought that we would live in that house forever. I thought that was our house forever, and I realized that that wasn't going to happen. We were never going to be safe there.
Now, again, we've had some testimony, but you, at some point in time around then, you took some action to find another place. Is that correct?
And that's correct, yes.
What was the plan?
The plan,
Yeah?
we went to a local realtor and said, "We're in a situation, we need to find a new house right now." And he worked with us, told us, we told him what we could afford, and he found us a wonderful, wonderful house. And we were so happy to put a bid on it, and they accepted it. And we were just really encouraged that we would be able to move soon and get out.
Now, based on comments that were directed to you, did you realize that a gang across the street kind of knew that they had driven you from the neighborhood?
Same.
Well, did the comments in terms of threats against you all, et cetera, did they cease after you had found a place?
No. No, they did not.
How frequent was this activity against you and your family?
In the beginning, it was every other day. After the injunction hearing, it was a daily occurrence, I'd say.
Okay. Did you take their threats seriously?
Oh, yes. Yes, very much so.
Did you believe that they meant their threats?
I did. To the point where I started picking my daughter up from the bus stop. At first, we started walking her home, but you couldn't walk, you had to walk past their yard, and you couldn't do that without getting harassed verbally. So I started driving to the next house to pick her up from the bus stop and bring her home. I didn't want her, they had threatened to rape her, so I didn't want her walking past that house by herself, especially with all of the men and the boys there. So I picked her up in the car.
Okay. How about with your son? Did you take any special precautions with your 4-year-old? He was 4 at that time, right?
He was 4.
And I'm sorry, I didn't actually ask you how old your daughter Ava was at that time.
She was 12.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, my son was 4, and he liked to play outside, and like most little boys, and I was afraid to let him go outside, so I just kept him in the house all the time. He liked to help me walk the dog, but I was afraid because if I had to run, I wouldn't be able to carry him and run. I started taking the dog out the back way, and the neighbor let me walk the dog in her yard so I wouldn't have to go out front and be seen.
Did you see any changes in the behavior of your children as a result of this stream of threats and harassment?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
Could you describe that to the jury, please?
They became very clingy, more so than kids normally are. Whatever room I was in, they would follow me. My son started stuttering. He had never stuttered before. He was very anxious. He was crying every day. It was unusual behavior for him. My daughter was just very nervous all of the time, afraid to be alone, wanted to be with me all the time.
Was your husband aware of these behaviors changing your children?
I have no doubt, yes.
Now, I want to move you ahead to the evening of September 2nd, 2012. Could you tell the jury what you were doing earlier in the evening?
We had spent the day together with some family who had traveled from out of town, so it was an important day for us just because they didn't travel often, and we spent the day together swimming and just spending time together as a family. We had had dinner at my parents' house, and they had surprised us with an anniversary cake because we were just about to celebrate our anniversary.
Now, when you returned, well, first of all, let me ask a couple of questions. You happen to recall how your husband was dressed?
Yeah.
How was he dressed?
He was wearing the same thing he wore all the time, which was a t-shirt and camouflage pants or shorts, I believe.
Okay. Was it unusual for him to wear camouflage clothing?
No, he wore those very, very frequently.
Okay, the camouflage pants, did he have a matching jacket that he wore?
Yes, yes,
So that was kind of a set?
yes.
And again, was it unusual for him to wear that?
No.
So even during this get-together with your family and anniversary surprise, that was how he addressed that evening.
Yes, we didn't know that they were surprising us with a little party.
Now, did you all drive home together or separately, if you recall?
I believe we went home together.
Okay. All right. Do you recall being greeted by any sort of reaction when you returned by the gang across the street?
I don't remember specifically.
Let me ask you this. We've had some testimony that Mr. Blake in particular came over and serenaded you all with his version of a Charlie Daniels song.
Sustained rephrase.
Did you hear his song?
I don't remember that. No.
Okay. What do you remember about what occurred when you all got home?
Well, I remember thinking, okay, we're home again, and this is still this. And I was kind of sad to go home because I didn't want to have another night of worrying. The activity across the street was really loud and just very busy, and I was concerned.
What were you concerned about?
Well, I knew that they were heavy drinkers and they were into drugs, and I was afraid that there was more people than usual, and I was afraid that if they were all participating in something like that, sometimes those things get out of hand, and I was just afraid of what they might do.
Specifically, did you have any concerns for your own safety, the safety of your children, the safety of your husband?
I did. I was concerned. We had talked about not staying there that night even. We had been actively looking for a rental, and it just made me feel more strongly about getting out of there. Every single day, I felt more strongly about getting out of that house. I had asked my husband if he would feel safer staying at his parents' house that night. They were making so much noise, you could hear it inside the house. You could hear actual comments inside my house. You couldn't even get away from it inside the house anymore. We kept the blinds closed all the time, and so they put up a floodlight to try and shine through my windows, and we were already to the point of living in a cave, and now I'm in the cave and I still can't get away from it.
Now, during this period of time, were you having any problems sleeping?
Yeah, yes. Well, I always had some problem, and that just made it so much worse.
Troubled by any dreams, any things of that nature?
I can't remember if I had any nightmares during that time. I did after, but I can't remember having any before. I took some medication, so once I got to sleep, I was out.
Okay, well, why did you have medication to sleep?
I was very anxious and was taking an antidepressant to help with anxiety, and one of its side effects is tiredness, I guess, or sleepiness. So I would take it at night to help me sleep.
Okay, and did you feel the need to take medication that night to help you sleep?
Oh, yes.
Okay, do you recall about what time you took medication that night?
I don't remember what time I took it. I would usually take it about an hour before my usual bedtime, but I stayed up later
I'm sorry, I don't remember what time.
That's okay. You recall, you had already talked about, but how long had you heard these comments even through the walls of your house before you took the medication and went to bed?
That would have been all night. You could hear them all night inside the house.
Well, I understand, but I mean, do you recall about how much you were subjected to before you took medication, you were able to sleep? In terms of hours, et cetera, give us some time frame.
It was a couple hours at least.
Okay. Now, during the time that you were awake, before you took the medication, was your husband in the house with you?
Yes.
You were aware of the fact that after the injunction had been denied, that your husband had firearms returned to him. Is that correct?
Yes.
And where were they normally kept? How were they kept?
They were normally kept in a closet in one of the bedrooms and separate from the ammunition.
Okay. All right. That evening, up until the time that you had taken your medication, even in the face of this barrage of threats and comments and things toward you and your family, had your husband armed himself?
No.
Were you able to observe his demeanor?
Yes.
What was his demeanor like during the time when you were away?
He was nervous, but he seemed calm. I think he seemed calm to me, but I could tell he was nervous. And I could tell he was trying to keep me at ease. He knew I was nervous.
Okay. How about your children? What was their demeanor?
Well, my son went to bed kind of early. He was tired from all the swimming. My daughter had a hard time going to bed. She was nervous. She had a hard time. She didn't want to be in her room by herself. But I finally got her to go lay down. She was nervous. She didn't want to be in there by herself.
Was she ever in a position where she could hear any of these comments while you were around her?
Yes.
I mean, were they loud enough that everybody in your house couldn't help but hear them?
Yes.
Now, again, it may sound like an obvious question, but how did all of these threats and abuse on that evening make you feel?
I was really scared.
Despite your fear, you still wanted to try and get some sleep?
Yeah, yes. We had a big day the next day, so signing mortgage papers. So yeah, I wanted to try and rest.
Now, after taking medication, with the help of the medication, you were able to sleep. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, what was the next thing that you recall from that evening?
I recall my phone ringing. It was right next to my bed.
Okay. What happened after that awakened?
When I picked up the phone, I realized that my neighbor had been trying for several minutes to call me. It had several missed calls on the phone. I realized that there were flashing lights outside, like emergency lights, and I called my neighbor back.
Now, and clearly at that point, something had happened while you were asleep and were unaware of it. Is that correct?
Right, right. Yes.
So, did you, and we know from other testimony, you spoke with police officers, et cetera. Were you actually the person that turned over the surveillance films to the Titusville Police Department, or was somebody else in your family that did that?
No, it was me. I turned over the video from that night to the police department.
Now, you all kept copies, is that correct?
Oh, yes.
I mean, later you actually provided my office with copies.
Yes, that's correct.
Don't want you to get into what people told you, et cetera. Anything else of significance that you recall actually observing that evening?
That evening.
Right. Or now we're in the early morning hours of the next day.
I remember walking outside to see what was going on, and Kim was running up and down the sidewalk. She was screaming. There were people walking around everywhere. There were people all over the yard. There was an officer standing at the end of my driveway, and when I tried to approach her to speak to her, she kind of put her hand up like, stay there. But I saw Billy's, something from his clothing on the ground. I thought he had been hurt. Another officer came up to me and said that...
We don't want to get into things other people said.
Oh, okay.
Just what you observed.
A lot of people and activity.
Nothing further of this witness at this time.
May I have the attorney's approach, please? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch recess at this time. I'm going to ask you all to return at 10 after 1. We can start promptly at 1:15. Please leave your notebooks on your chairs, and please make sure that you follow all of my instructions during our lunch recess. Thank you. And ma'am, you may step down. We'll need you to be back at 1:15. Thank you. We'll be in recess until 1:15.